All right, thank you all for being here. We'll talk about kind of a summary of the Oregon game and get on to Northwestern. We won't talk about Oregon anymore after this day today. But some of the positives from the game, I think our specialists are doing a real good job. Drew is really having a consistent year, and Caleb had his best day punting the ball. We got a couple of fortunate bounces, but he did hit the ball better, more consistently. And Ober is doing a nice job of snapping, so we're getting good work there. We did. We got our best punt return in 2 years, which was good to see. Nice to see DeMornay break out. We had a nice net punt average. I think it was 46-yard net punt. We had the one down on the 3-yard line or right around in there, which was great to see. Our kickoff coverage, which I was really worried about their return game, we all knew about that. You all knew about it, and they averaged 17.5. I think our guys did a good job. We had one unnecessary penalty on a late hit in special teams, and of course, then we fumbled the punt that Graham Nabity jumped on. We were fortunate to get it back. If you don't know, Brad Simpson is doing a great job on special teams. He's our point leader, and after 3 games, really consistent, playing real well. Luke McNitt is doing a great job on special teams. Chris Weber, those are our 3 top point getters. Bose Joseph made another nice play, had a good open field tackle. Offensively, I guess one of the best things about the game was our balance was good. We threw for 200 and rushed for 228. We did have the one really bad turnover. I felt like it was at least a possibility of 10 or a 14-point swing right there. Really, really scary play at that particular time. We had 3 false starts and a holding penalty, which are bad news. And overall, offensively, I think we were good at times, and then boy, we would just have a series in there that was a clunker. So our consistency wasn't great, but at times we looked pretty good with both running and throwing the ball, and of course then the 4th down conversion was a big time play, really, really well executed. Guys that played well, Tommy obviously, and Jordan Westerkamp made some big plays. We thought Divine Ozigbo played a good game. He ran tough and gained hard yards and good yards. Up front, Farmer and Gates were our 2 most consistent offensive linemen. And, of course, Brian Reimers. I had an old player named Remers, and I keep going back to that. But Brian made big-time play, blocked well. I think I've told you all along, I think this guy's going to be a good player, and he's continuing to grow. So that was good. We had 10 explosive plays, which is a little less than what we want, but and our 3rd down average was less than what we want. So defensively, we gave up the 3 big plays. We are, as a whole, doing better in that area than we did a year ago. We've got to continue that trend. Our tackling, it was kind of like offensively, and this team can make you do it. Our tackling was kind of a mixed bag. We had some really good plays, good open field tackling, and then we missed a couple tackles on plays that ended up big plays for them. We missed them right at the line of scrimmage, and that hurt us. So we didn't get any turnovers, but overall, our guys, I think the overwhelming thing that I saw defensively is our guys continued to play hard the whole game. They really ran to the ball and worked hard in the game, and I think that was good. Pass defense was, we got lucky a little bit, but at the same time, pretty good. They had 146 yards passing, which is unlike them a little bit. And individually, some guys covered pretty well. I thought that Nate Gary played a good game. Kyron Williams, Aaron Williams was a good player. I thought Michael Rose-Ivy made a lot of good, tough, firm tackles. Really went to the ball hard. He's a tough guy. Kalu played a good game, and probably up front, Ross Dezuris probably played our best overall game. Of course, Freedom gets a big sack, and we did a better job defensively, making good decisions. The quarterback, as you saw, slid a lot, and that's they're really watching that closely in college football, and I thought our guys avoided the penalty at the end of the slide real well. Did a pretty good job on the sidelines making better decisions. We played hard and we played smarter defensively in that regard. Just leading into Northwestern, we know what we're going to get here. This team had a rough start, came back with a good win against Duke. Pat does a great job of coaching this team. They are always tough-minded, have won a lot of games. So we're looking for a team that is on the rise, I think, and coming back a little bit after a good win. They have a good running back, number 21, Jackson. Leading receiver, number 80, is a good player. They have a guy they call their super back, which is like our H-back that is a blocker. He's a receiver. He's a good overall player. He's 6'3", 240, good athlete. And their quarterback is one of those dual threat guys. Really hurt us last year. A couple of big runs that were big factors in the game. Defensively, their middle linebacker, Walker, number 1, is an All-American, a real good player. Their best cover guy is number 24, and he's also the kickoff returner. Number 7's their best pass rusher. He's a good player. And their outside linebacker actually leads the league, I think, in tackling right now. So they're making plays. They have a good, solid kicker. He's real good, consistent field goal guy, and their punter can boom it. He's got a 45-yard average. So, we've got to see if we can get a return on him in that regard. Okay, that's kind of a summary. Anybody got any questions?
Yeah, Mike, you said at the outset that you won't talk about Oregon after this day. Cool for your guys. I mean, so much was put into that Oregon game. Could you just kind of elaborate on the importance of getting beyond that now?
Well, I think that, for this, particularly this stage of the season, Eric, it is really only about growth. As soon as the game's over, you've got to take it. There's lots of stuff that we have to improve on to be a good team consistently. So there's plenty of those teachable moments from that game that we can use. Right now it was a great win. At that point in the year, it was obviously our biggest non-league game, and we had managed to win the first 2 to set that up into a big game for us. And then winning it is a really good thing, but we can now only use it. We've got everything's ahead of us, so we've got to kind of just use the game as a tool, go on to the next one, and prepare like we did. Our team was, I think I told you all week last week, I really liked the electricity and the vibe in practice. So we need to duplicate that and the excitement for the next game and the preparation for the next game and all the planning, everything that goes into it. We need to do a great job, and we need to improve those areas that need improving and continue to find the best identity for what we do. I think you learn about your team as you go and what you should really focus on and enhance, and then what you need to have going on that's not going on to do a better job.
Coach, any lingering effects from the cramping issues that Tommy Armstrong was having?
No, I saw Tommy just a little while ago, and I think that he's fine. I think that by the time we get to tomorrow's practice, this is their day off today. I think that he'll be good. We actually came out of it in pretty good shape injury-wise. I think Mick Stoltenberg did a great job. It was great to have him in there. The plays that he did have, he was a factor. we probably need to rotate more guys in the defensive line. We got tired and not as effective as we might be, so we need to get some rotation going in there with, putting a guy like Alex Davis in the game a little more often up front, and having Mick in there and being able to rotate in the interior a little bit will help us. But I think one of our biggest question marks yet will be to see how Brandon Riley comes along. He's made progress for sure. He's run a little bit. We'll see where he is for tomorrow. I sure hope he can play. It'll be good to get him back.
Hey, when you study Nebraska's 5-year history at Northwestern, why do you think they've given Nebraska just so many problems? And even when Nebraska's been a pretty decisive favorite, they beat them in 11, beat you guys last year, and then all the games have been really close no matter what the records are.
I think this is that kind of team. I think they win 10 games last year. It seems to me like the average was 23-21. They are a tough, gritty, fight to the end team. Play good, solid football. Way back when Pat was playing, I coached against Pat in the Rose Bowl, and I think what was that, '96? He was a linebacker there. That defense back then was very similar to how they play now. They are sound. Back in that day, I watched all the film, and you couldn't find big plays on them. They just were really, really a sound defensive team. So, they don't let the game get away from them. They compete like crazy, and they're well coached, and they've got some good players.
What have you guys went 3-5 in the Big Ten last year?
Thanks, Sam.
What did you learn about the league after that first season? And what changes did you make in the offseason, and what kind of different mindset do you think you'll have going into season 2?
Well, generally what we learned was that it's all very, very competitive. This happened while we were in the Pac-12. You just saw, you saw those teams that were usually where they were, but you saw the whole league in general rising competitively. And so it got to the point where there weren't any, really what you'd call big upsets, because it was getting more even as it went along from top to bottom. And it might be too early for me to make this assumption, but that's what it looks like in the Big Ten. It looks like everybody pretty good and rising and very competitive. And so that's what I noticed watching it, because some of those teams in the past that might have not been in that conversation like we're having right now about Northwestern, they've been in it and won a lot of games. Minnesota has done a great job in that program doing that. It looks like Indiana's doing the same thing. I think I saw today where Purdue is leading the league in offense right now. Is that right? Do you guys know that? But anyway, there's a lot of things always going on, and it's really to the point you got to go play well to win, and that's probably what I've learned the most. And what we do about it is, frankly, we spent more time about our own team in the off season. We did study opponents, and we've got scouting reports on all of our opponents done. But at the same time, we have, kind of see how we fit in and what we do best, and then try to match it up with what the scouting report says week to week.
Not that line play isn't important in every league, but
what is
not that line
yeah.
isn't important in every league, but how much more important is it in the Big Ten, given the nature of the weather and the kinds of teams you play?
Well, I think you have to be versatile in the Big Ten. I think that. That's sort of been why we have talked more about balance than ever, because maybe there's some of those games where, you just don't want to be a one-sided team ever. But I don't think it would be great to be a team always in these conditions as we head in later in the year where you're throwing 50 times a game. I don't foresee that, and we don't want to be that anyway. But I think that what we do running the ball, like we gained 228 yards against Oregon, and that was good, really good for us. We needed that, and we didn't get much versatility from our receivers, but we did from our quarterback for sure. We obviously that really impacted the game. So that versatility is good for us, and the line play has to be solid, you know. And then you have to be very, very careful. I think we're learning more about what we can and then what we shouldn't do. Both of those things in pass protection. What kinds of protections we use and what's best for us, what's going to be most consistent.
Mike, do you have strong feelings on the going to 9-game schedule in Big Ten one way or the other? Do you really like it and not like it?
I think it's probably appropriate that we play 9. I think that if that is the case, then every league should probably do that. You know, I think that's I don't know who's missing that right now. SEC. Yeah, I think that probably with the playoffs at stake, things like that should be equitable that way. But I like this the way it is. I know you have to play everybody in your division, and since our conference is so big, I think that having those other league games that aren't in your division are good games for everybody to play in and to watch, probably.
And Mike, you've won big games in the past against big opponents in the next week. What have you learned over the course of your career to keep guys to compartmentalize maybe last week this way? And you did last year with Rutgers after the Michigan State game. So
Yeah.
what worked and what will you emphasize this week?
Well, I think what you have to really emphasize is growth, you know, and I think that everybody can be really happy. I think that sometimes we as coaches in particular, and the longer you do it, I think you have to enjoy the fact that you won the game, but then the next day when you start watching the film, you better get on to the next one. And there is a kind of a euphoria of winning the game and a reality when you watch the video, and you have to take it like that for real, and just use that game, like I said earlier, as a tool. And you've got to convince the players that this is real. I mean, you know, it is awesome to win. Our effort was outstanding, and our will to win was at the top. And we played our best ball, you know, and made big plays down the stretch, which was really good to see. All those things are good. You have to build on those things, but you have to correct those things that are still there that, you know, we give up 2 long plays. The third and long give up. That was terrible, and that just shouldn't happen. So there's lots of correctable parts here, and you just have to emphasize that. I think this can be one of your hardest coaching jobs, actually.
Like Nebraska's traveled 25,000 fans to Northwestern each of the last 2 times, and I think one year they forced them into a silent count in their own stadium. What kind of advantage and lift can that be on the road, especially your first road game, to have really almost be like a home game for you guys at times?
Well, first I'll say, you know, from our last game, this picture at Lincoln, Nebraska, and Memorial Stadium, that couldn't be any better in college football, any time, anywhere than last Saturday. Our fans are just awesome. Play a major role, represent this state really, really well, and travel well. And to have a fan base like that does travel with you is always a great lift to a team. Very special, so we'll appreciate that.
Mike, so much of the narrative going into the Oregon game is about you, it seemed like. Everyone was asking you about it, there was a lot of build-up. So for you personally, here to be 2 days after, is there a lot of relief for you just to kind of be beyond that game now?
Well, it was good to win that game, Eric, for probably many reasons. And it's like I've said before, that one of the things about Oregon was I've got a lot of respect for that program. So winning a game against them is a good deal. But you know, this is just like a different new life, and this is about Nebraska's 2016 team, and I came here to be a part of that. So that other part, you know, I enjoyed it, loved it. I was in that Civil War rivalry since my dad coached in it in the 60s, so that's special, and I'll obviously still follow along with that. But it was just good to beat Oregon. They're a good team, nationally ranked. That was good for our team, and that's the main thing about it. For this team, it was a good win, and we can just leave it at that.
Ethan had a career high in catches on Saturday. How key is that connection going to be going forward? And I guess, did he come out of that? I know he took a big hit. I saw him come back on the field.
Wind. He had the wind knocked out of him, which was okay. That's not okay, but it's better than a broken rib. But we need to do that with Ethan Carter. He needs to have the football. We need to make sure that he's involved. He's a great weapon for us. And we need to grow that as we go. It was good to get him more involved. He can do more yet.
With Pearson L, just that one return, how much can that boost a guy who's kind of been waiting for that moment?
Yeah. I think that it can be great for him personally as far as the kind of, the guy is a gifted athlete, DeMornay is, and had a fabulous break-in as a freshman, and then went through a really tough year a year ago. A couple of big injuries, and so for every step that he makes making a play, whether it's a reception or a return, and to have that return, I would think, if I'm him, that's all about confidence. That, because I think that it is a process coming back from any kind of an injury, especially a knee. And so as he plays and as he makes plays, I think the more he can put that in his rearview mirror and just play the game. So I'm happy for him, excited for him, and it was really great for our team to get that boost. At that time, it was a major play in the game.
Hey, Mike, what was in the Pac-12, as far as you remember, what was the overriding feeling on the 9 game as most guys for it? And what did they think of
Yeah.
the leagues not doing it?
I think that it was pretty much like I said. I think that everybody kind of liked that, the way it was. I didn't hear any opposition except for I remember David Shaw, I think, bringing it up at a league meeting about other leagues and the number of games and about how we basically beat ourselves up and somebody else is scheduling, a lesser opponent. So that's where it becomes, I think, an issue probably. And that's what they thought about it then. Before it became the Pac-12, I thought it was perfect. There's 10 teams. You played all the teams every year. And you just went home and home year to year with them, and it was very, very even that way. That was like the perfect way to put it. But the way the conferences are now, that isn't going to happen again. But that was, I thought it was really well set up at that time and pretty easy. You didn't have to think about, the league games out of your division. Who you get is a big deal, right? So that's a factor.
When you've had good road teams, what made them good?
Well, I think that basically those teams, when we were good and we won big games on the road, which if you want to be a good team, you have to win like that. I think that it basically carried over into the confidence that they had of it didn't matter. If you can get your team the mindset that it really doesn't matter, you're staying in a hotel the night before the game and you're playing a game the next day. It's just getting to the hotel's a little different. And the more that you can just kind of carry on that routine and guys can really believe it. I think one of the hardest things about the road sometimes can be just the focus. We had for years really been bad in L.A., because we had lots of families show up, and it always felt disjointed. And so we kind of closed that thing down a little bit and tried to refocus, what we would have at home as the attention of the team, and tried to relate that to relay that information to the families too. This is a time to see your kid, so there's a lot of things that happen sometimes on the road with visitors that can be distracting. So the more you can keep it, I think, normal, but most importantly, the mindset of your players, that it really doesn't matter. And of course, we're going to be playing on a different surface that everybody has talked to me about.
What have they said about it?
Well, that it's the tallest grass you've ever seen. That's so we've let our field grow out here a little bit as best we can, and we'll practice on the grass and try to get ready for that. But I think a lot of that will be a mindset too, and then approaching the game and not letting that be a distraction for us when we get into the stadium.
Mike, so much of a game like Saturday, it's kind of a blur, especially the fourth quarter where as much is going on as
Yeah.
it. When you sit down 12 hours later or 18 hours later and watch it again, were there things that stood out to you, or pivotal moments that stuck out to you that maybe you don't realize when you're standing on the sideline from that perspective? I guess what I'm saying is, when you watched it again, what did you notice or what stood out to you?
Well, I think that there are times in there, like getting a third down stop after we had that big fiasco of the lateral and the return and their touchdown like that, and them getting the ball back. It didn't feel good at that time. But when we stopped them and then had some time, and then we kept time on the clock and got the punt return and scored, and then rewatching the film and realizing, man, that was a pivotal drive, big time throw and catch by Tommy to Jordan. It looked good. And we made a football play there, and we made a big return. And we got the stop on defense. I think when you look back and watch the video, we watch it separate, right? So watch all the defensive plays, all the special teams plays, and all. But when you then put it in the perspective of the game and how that all played out, that was a huge moment in there. And the other thing was they started out that drive at the end to score, either to win it or tie it, whatever they could do, with a nice play that was immediately reminiscent to me of a play when Mariota was quarterbacking when we had just taken the lead a few years back. I mean, that flashed in my mind. They hit pretty good pass in the flat and had a good gain right away. And then they had a couple plays, and then they had an edge play that was a pretty good gain, but they got called for holding, which was a good call. And then we made a play that was different. We got a sack. That was huge. And then our guys came through with nice pressure and pretty good coverage at the time. We went after them on that fourth down play. So, those became obvious big plays, but there were those series within the game that were big. Responding to their touchdown early, that looked pretty easy. It was like, okay, we needed some kind of response. And then, to have a drive and score was big. I think we got a penalty right before Jordan Westerkamp's touchdown on the kind of inside slant play that set us back, and then we recovered right there and hit that for a touchdown. That was big. So those are kind of turning point moments within the game.
Coach, going back to the first half, you mentioned earlier about the turnover on the move-on screen, and Oregon scored one play later. You guys are down 2 scores. It's almost halftime. You guys hadn't had to play from behind yet this year. I guess in such a big game like that, in such a big moment, what was your message to the team? I mean, just to keep everybody focused and just to prevent panic in that moment.
Well, I think that the fact of the matter is, I don't know that there was any particular message, but I did keep reminding the guys that we can absolutely move the ball. We are very capable of stopping them. Let's go out and just keep playing. And that was the message at halftime. And I think when we were down 2 scores and that score before the half, that was just a huge, huge factor in the game. Coming back from what we'd already given up an opportunity to score points right before that, and then lost the lead even further. That was a pretty pivotal time. But I think that it wasn't necessarily that I said anything about that, but I had to say it. I think our players knew it. I think they knew we could move the ball, and I think they knew we could stop them.
Why did you guys go with the alternate uniforms for the room game?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a good idea, but I don't know why. Does anybody else know why? Keith, do you know why we did that?
Dave can answer that, but, thank you. It's a nice change up.
You like that?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Hey, Mike, Caleb was named Big Ten Freshman of the Week for his punting. What was the dramatic difference from the first two games to this game against Oregon? Did you talk to him at all, or what?
No, I think that Caleb will continue to grow with his confidence, which is the number one thing for every football player. But when you have a specialty like they have, and to be able to, he made a couple of nice plays, and he got a real good play by Kyron. I think that was Kyron to down that ball, and then he hit that ball like we know he's capable of hitting there near the end. I think that the fact that he's seen now that he can do what he is capable of doing in a game, that's all real good for him. This was all thrust upon him. He didn't have a year to prepare for this. He really thought he was coming in here and going to redshirt and learn, and so I'm real proud of him. That's a nice honor for him. But my feeling is he should just continue to grow and show all of you that how capable he is. He's got talent, this guy, and I'm excited for him.
Coach, Coach Banker had mentioned that to get positive juju on the sidelines. How much of that was a culture change when you came in here to change that positivity, especially on the sidelines, to get I guess things going back your way?
During that last game?
Yeah, well, total. I guess throughout the last year as well as this year, to get some positivity, or when things go bad, to get positivity on the side.
Well, I think that for me in general, and I think Coach Banker's always been like this, and I think Cav is real good like this, is that one thing the players need on the sidelines is information. They if something hasn't gone well, like if we're getting hurt by a blitz, and so we got to get information from the box exactly what happened, where this thing is weak or where it breaks down, and get that. I think players, if something's not going well, they need to have information on how to fix it. So that's what I want on the boundary, is people that can help guys and talk to them about what's going to have to happen to make that better. That's got to be the main focus. That these guys come off, and it's either good or bad while they're coming off the field, and but it always has to be about what's going to take place. Sometimes it's just a snapshot of what we're going to do. What we've seen, what's been working. This is how we're going to approach the next drive or the next series, or this is how we have to fix what just happened.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.